coaches never like to talk about individual players, but I wonder if there's a player from across the tournament, not necessarily in your own squad, who you're particularly excited about seeing over the next few weeks, and why that would be.
I think the wonderful thing about the Six Nations that players who might have not been in a squad before actually are given the opportunity, maybe through injury or through form and selection, and you just never quite know. And the wonderful thing about the Six Nations is that those players who aren't talked about now will be talked about in March. And you know, for me, there's a lot of competition in terms of the full-back position, and when you look across the board in terms of full-backs, there's some special players who will bring some special memories to this tournament.
Now finally from me, and coaches don't like talking about individual players, I know, but is there a player across the tournament, not necessarily from your own squad, who you're particularly looking forward to seeing over the Six Nations, and why would that be? Is there any player that you're really excited by?
You can never pick from your own squad, because then you get in trouble with the other 30, 32, 31, 30 players in the squad. So go ahead, sorry, put me on the spot. I think Stuart Hogg's playing unbelievable rugby for Glasgow, and he's brilliant to watch. So I think there's so many. Six Nations is incredible. I mean, you can go through every team and start picking out individual game breakers and brilliant rugby players. But he really, the way Glasgow have performed, and to me it's a lesson as well. I saw Gregor talking about 20 years ago Glasgow were losing by 80 points. 10 years ago, Borders went bankrupt and two clubs had no future. Now they have two teams in quarterfinals of European competition. It's certainly, I think, what we can become, but Stuart Hogg has led that. Finn Russell as well, so they're two players, I suppose, from outside of the norm.
And finally, is there a player that you would expect, not necessarily from your own squad, but across the board, who you would expect to make an impact in the Six Nations this year? A player that you thought you've come across and you think, yeah, they can really deliver? Difficult one to put you on the spot.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think somebody like Jonny May maybe has probably never really had a run at the Six Nations Championship. If he can stay fit and well, He's pretty mad as old Johnny down at Gloucester, but he's a very dangerous player. If he gets some open space, he causes teams a lot of problems.
Now, coaches don't like to talk about individual players and perhaps from another team, but is there a player across the board that you're expecting to really make an impact in this Six Nations? From what you've seen over the last few months or year, is there a player you think might emerge over the next few weeks?
From within our
your
group,
own squad or from any squad? It's a difficult one to put you on the spot.
I think it's a really good question. I thought Hugh Jones was really good for Scotland. He was a guy I knew nothing about. You know, he plays for the Stormers. He was very much under the radar, but he made a massive impression. Not just in the fact that he swooped through onto a very nice kick from Finn Russell to get the try against Australia, but he also broke tackles, got offloads away. I thought he was really a little bit special. I think he's got really good competition in that Scottish midfield as well. I guess as a young scrum half in Italy, I'd be a big admirer of Eduardo Gori, but young Bronzini has come in there and done a super job as well. So there are guys emerging all the time, and I think Wales have got a couple of young guys coming through that are going to put some pressure on some of the established players. I thought Scott Williams, I know he's been there for quite a long time, but with Jamie Roberts and John Davies really locking that down, Scott Williams is looking to force his way in and become a regular starter for them. So I look around and there's lots to be impressed with and excited about in the various teams. And for us, we've got a couple of young guys who came in. Joey Carberry obviously was one of them, but I know Josh van der Fleer played his first game at Twickenham in the Six Nations last year, but he really came through in the November series and did well, and young Gary Ringrose came in and did well, Kieran Marmion did well. So I guess it's going to be a bit of a mix and match, and there'll be a mix of youth and experience, and I just hope we get the mix right.
Is there a player in any of the other squads who you think could really emerge? Is there, as you look around the Six Nations setup, is there a player that you think, yeah, that they're ready to have a big tournament?
I think, well, look, if you look at the strength and depth that England have at the moment, the injuries they have and the players they can bring back in that have already had experience, and you can see the depth they have there. I think Ireland's shown they've got the depth they've got. Mathieu Basteroy comes back into the French team, and he's going to be a handful. I think I think this is a great thing about the Six Nations, that a lot of players will perform and have and make a name for themselves, whether it be younger players or older players. But we're looking forward to it.